4 poor sisters, a broken house, and nights without food. Everyone believed their future was hopeless. But one mysterious letter and a stranger's arrival changed everything. What happened next turned their poverty into a story the whole village would never forget. They were 4 poor sisters living under a leaking roof. One dreamed of education, another secretly designed clothes from scraps. Then one day a letter arrived, and a black car stopped in their village. That moment was about to change their lives forever. The villagers called them the Poor Sisters. But they didn't know these 4 girls were about to build a future no one imagined. From hunger and hardship to success and hope, this is the inspiring story that proves dreams can rise from the poorest homes. In a small dusty village lived 4 poor sisters, Amina, Sana, Hira, and Noor. Their tiny house had a broken roof, and many nights they slept hungry. After their father passed away, their mother worked day and night stitching clothes to keep the family alive. The sisters understood their struggles early. Amina, the eldest, started teaching small children in the village for a few coins. Sana loved books but could not afford school fees, so she borrowed old books from neighbors and studied under a streetlight at night. Hira helped their mother sew clothes, while little Noor collected firewood and sold it in the market. People in the village often whispered, "Poor girls, they will never change their fate." But the sisters had a quiet fire in their hearts. One rainy evening, when water was leaking through the roof, Amina said softly, "One day we will build a house where rain cannot enter, and mother will finally rest." That night became the beginning of something powerful. Amina started giving more tuition classes. Sana began preparing for a government scholarship exam. Hira secretly practiced designing clothes from leftover fabric pieces. Noor, though young, started learning everything from her sisters. Months passed with hard work and many failures. Sometimes they wanted to give up, but their mother's tired smile reminded them why they had to continue. One day, Sana received a letter that could change their lives forever, a result from the scholarship exam she had been waiting for. Her hands trembled as she slowly opened the envelope. Inside was a single line that made her heart race. But before she could say anything, the village head and several strangers suddenly arrived at their door with unexpected news that none of the sisters had ever imagined. Sana's hands trembled as she slowly opened the envelope. The sisters gathered around her, their hearts beating fast. Their mother watched quietly from the corner, wiping her tired hands on her scarf. Sana read the letter once, then again. Her eyes suddenly filled with tears. I got the scholarship," she whispered. For a moment, the room was silent. Then Noor jumped with joy, Hira hugged Sana tightly, and Amina looked up at the broken roof as if thanking the sky. It was the first real sign that their struggle was changing into hope. But before the celebration could begin, there was a knock on the door. When Amina opened it, she was surprised to see the village head standing outside with 2 well-dressed strangers. The villagers had started gathering behind them, curious about what was happening. The village head smiled and said, "Girls, these people came from the city today. They heard about your hard work." One of the strangers stepped forward. He was a middle-aged man with kind eyes. "We run a small organization that helps talented students from poor families," he explained. "Your sister's scholarship result reached our office this morning. But that's not the only reason we are here." The sisters looked at each other, confused. The second woman opened a folder and showed some papers. "We also heard about the clothes your sister Hira designs and sells in the market. Some shopkeepers in town told us they are surprisingly good." Hira felt shy and lowered her eyes. The man continued, "We want to offer something, but first we want to see if you girls are ready for a bigger challenge." Amina's heart started beating faster. "What kind of challenge?" she asked carefully. The man smiled slightly and said, "A chance that could change not only your lives, but maybe the future of your entire village." Before the sisters could understand what he meant, the woman placed a document on the table and said softly, "If you accept this opportunity, everything will start tomorrow morning." The sisters looked at the paper in shock. But what was written on it was far bigger than anything they had ever dreamed of. The sisters stood silently around the table, staring at the document. Their small room suddenly felt too quiet, as if even the wind outside was waiting for their answer. Amina slowly picked up the paper. Her eyes moved carefully over the words, and with every line she read, her surprise grew. The organization was offering Sana full support for her education in the city. But that was only the beginning. They also wanted to help Hira start a small clothing workshop, where she could design and sew dresses to sell in nearby towns. The condition was simple but challenging. The sisters had to work together, study hard, and promise to help other poor girls in the village if they succeeded. For a moment, no one spoke. Hira looked at her rough hands and whispered, "A workshop, for my designs?" The woman smiled gently. "Yes. We have seen your work. Talent like yours should not remain hidden in a small village." Noor's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Does that mean we can fix our house too?" she asked innocently. Everyone laughed softly, but their mother's eyes were full of tears. She had spent years worrying about how her daughters would survive. Now, for the first time, she saw a door opening. Still, Amina felt the weight of responsibility. She looked at the strangers and asked carefully, "What do we have to do first?" The man pointed toward the document. "Tomorrow morning we will take Sana to the city to begin her admission process. At the same time, we will arrange training and basic equipment for Hira. But remember, this path will not be easy. Many people fail when life suddenly changes." The sisters exchanged determined glances. Amina finally said, "We are not afraid of hard work." Just then, another villager rushed to their door, breathing heavily. "There's something you must see in the market right now," he shouted. The sisters looked at each other in confusion. What could possibly be waiting for them in the market at this late hour, and why did the man look so shocked? Without wasting another moment, the four sisters hurried outside into the dark village street. The four sisters hurried through the narrow village street, their hearts pounding with curiosity. The villagers followed behind them, whispering among themselves. The night air was cool, but excitement filled the atmosphere. When they reached the small market square, they stopped in surprise. Under the dim yellow lights, a crowd had gathered around a clothing stall. Colorful dresses were hanging neatly, and people were pointing at them, talking loudly. Amina pushed through the crowd and looked closely. Her eyes widened. These are Hira's designs," she said in disbelief. Hira stepped forward slowly. The dresses displayed on the stall were the same ones she had stitched from leftover fabric pieces at home. She had sold them quietly to a small shopkeeper weeks ago, never imagining they would attract attention. The shopkeeper saw them and quickly approached. "Hira. I have been looking for you everywhere," he said excitedly. "Today people from the nearby town came to buy clothes, and they loved your designs. I sold almost everything." Hira could hardly believe it. "All of them?" she asked softly. "Almost," the shopkeeper replied, holding up a small bag of money. "And they have placed more orders. They want at least 50 dresses by next month." The sisters looked at each other in shock. 50 dresses felt impossible for one person. Just then, the man from the organization who had visited their home earlier stepped beside them and said with a smile, "It seems the opportunity we offered came at the perfect time." Amina thought for a moment. If Hira truly started a workshop, maybe these orders could be the beginning of something big. But before they could celebrate, the shopkeeper added something that made everyone silent. "There is one more thing," he said seriously. "The buyers from the town are coming tomorrow morning. They want to meet the girl who designed these clothes." Hira felt nervous. She had never spoken to business people before. And tomorrow was also the day Sana had to leave for the city. The sisters suddenly realized they would have to make an important decision, one that could change the direction of their lives forever. Amina looked at her sisters, wondering which path they should choose first. But at that very moment, a stranger stepped out of a black car that had just arrived near the market. The stranger stepped out of the black car and walked toward the crowd. He was one of the buyers from the city who had admired the dresses. "Who designed these clothes?" he asked. The villagers pointed toward Hira. Nervously, she stepped forward. Her hands were shaking, but Amina gently held her shoulder. The man examined the dresses again and smiled. "These designs are unique. We want to place a large order for our store in the city." The sisters looked at each other in disbelief. At the same time, Sana had her scholarship waiting in the city. For a moment they wondered if their dreams would pull them in different directions. Then their mother spoke softly, "My daughters, success is not about choosing one dream and leaving the others. It is about supporting each other." Those words gave them clarity. The next morning, Sana left for the city to continue her education. Amina stayed in the village to manage the new clothing workshop. Hira began designing and teaching other village girls how to sew. Even little Noor helped by delivering clothes and learning business skills. Months turned into years. The small workshop grew into a successful clothing business that provided jobs to many women in the village. Sana completed her studies and returned as a teacher, helping poor children get the education she once struggled for. Their broken house was finally replaced with a strong, beautiful home, but the sisters never forgot the nights they spent under the leaking roof. People who once pitied them now told their story as an example of courage and unity. The four poor sisters proved something powerful. Poverty may limit resources, but it cannot stop determination, hard work, and love between family. When people support each other and refuse to give up, even the smallest dreams can grow into a future that changes many lives. Sparkles.